Okay, today we'll start right on the top of Tazayim and Beis Amar Mar. Yeah, we thank Hashem that you're able to enter every day.
Amen.
This is us about learning. Beis Hamikdash immediately.
Amen.
Okay, we learned a machlekes between the Chachamim and Rameir regarding Mefaglim B'Chatzia Mater. Rameir held that half the if there's two things that are matir that permit this sacrifice to be eaten, for example, the offering of the kometz, the offering of the levina. So if pigul is done, the thoughts of pigul, of eating it out of a lot of time is done by one of them, that's enough to make it pigul. The Chachamim said it needs to be kol hamater. Anyway, we quoted a brisa that discussed what happens when there's a sacrifice where an animal sacrifice that the blood is brought inside the sanctuary. Usually, and in regular animal sacrifice, we say that the blood is applied to the altar, and just one application is enough. Even though you're supposed to have two that are four, or even four, but one of them would have been satisfactory. So, thoughts by one of the applications is enough to make pigul. What's going to be if it's a sacrifice that the blood is brought into the sanctuary? We're there, every single one is ma'akiv. In chisarachas, what does it say? Is chisarachan miyam is possible. I forget the expression, but it says that it's invalidated even if you're missing one. So over there we said that would actually be a machlekes Reb Meir in the Chachamim if that would be pigul. So we quote the brisa now that said this Amar Mar, that when do we say that pigul is effective, that it becomes a pigul that's only by the Mizbeach HaChitzon, from the outside altar, but blood that's applied on the inside altar, for example, the 43 of Yom Kippur, so then we said that whether it's in the first set of applications of blood, or the second set, or the third set, Reb Meir Omer pigul, v'chayav alav kares. Reb Meir says pigul and it's chayav kares. Okay. The Gemara says michti. Kares like mechayev ad shikru kol matirin. We know how pigul works. The only way pigul works is when everything is done properly, and the only one thing that's not proper here is the pigul thoughts, right? But everything else needs to be done properly. The problem is that well, first of all, Damar Mar Yiratze says that it needs to be. It says pigul hu lo yiratze actually in the pasuk. But what this means is that kartzos kosher kachartzos pasal. That the way a kosher sacrifice is appeasing, so too the non-kosher, the pigul sacrifice, but it has to be appeasing. Which means the martzar is kosher ad shikru kol matirin. Just like when it comes to a kosher sacrifice, it's kosher when everything is completed. So also hartzos pasal ad shikru kol matirin. It's only going to be kosher when all of the matirin are brought. What are all of the matirin? So here you have 43 applications of blood. You already brought, let's say, some of them, and then you had thoughts of pigul. Now you have to finish them off. The problem is, v'hai kiven l'chashaba b'fnim paslei. Once you thought on the first ones, or whichever ones you thought about thoughts of pigul, so you invalidated the sacrifice, or you invalidated the blood. Kimadi behechal maya balmo de kamadi. So the way it's explained, bifnim means in the bein abadim, in the Kodesh HaKodashim. The first sprinkling was done in the Kodesh HaKodashim. That you invalidated with thoughts of pigul. Then we go outside to the sanctuary and you sprinkle. What are you sprinkling? You're sprinkling blood. You're not even sprinkling blood. You're sprinkling water because the sacrifice is already invalidated. So how are you finishing the sacrifice in a kosher way? The blood itself becomes like nothing because it's already invalidated. The Rashi here, the Rashi V'hai Kiven the Chashiv, it's the top, it's the first skinny line. It says Vikasha. You're always going to have this problem. Kaimet Sheichet Nami Lemed Lemefagel the Chashiv, probably Bekmitza. If so, or Bekabbalah. If so, Kizarik Maya Balmazarik. Says, well, how's this going to work? He says every time you can finish the sacrifice, what you're doing is considered nothing. So then you did nothing. So how did you ever finish it in a valid way? The question that we're asking here is that how can you finish sprinkling the blood? You already invalidated the blood, so what you're sprinkling is just juice. It's just water. You're not doing anything. The blood is already invalid. So Rashi's asking, what do you mean? What happened to the whole Zvachim and Menachos when we spoke about when you're? It has nothing to do with the sacrifice on Yom Kippur that has 43 applications of blood. Every single sacrifice has other activities that need to be done after the pigul, which would be considered nothing once the pigul was done. So Rashi answers. He says no. He says lav perche. That's not a question, because over there, each avodah is independent. The Kabbalah is one thing. The Zrika is one thing. Everything is one thing. Everything is an independent service. Over here, we're talking about that in the Zrika itself, you have 43 applications of blood, and you messed up one of them. The rest of those applications are nothing. In the service itself, it's nothing. Not that there's other services. Other services are going to be effective. It's just this service itself is not effective because you've already messed it up. That's Rashi's machalik. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Don't rub it in. There's no sweater. No, you're making.
Is that live? Yeah. Oh, okay. He's showing me a picture of my sweater live. Dr. Stein's on Zoom and he's here.
He wants you to get the benefit from it also. It's us.
This sweater's from my parents. My mother got this for me. So. Okay.
I knew you'd never go in the store and buy it.
Sure what that means.
There was a what's it called? Rabbi Hirschsprung. It was the rabbi in Montreal. So he knew the whole Shas. He was a tremendous genius. They would do the pin test with him, the pin test. You know what the pin test is? They put a pin through the Gemara, and he tells you which letter it went through on every page.
Oh, it's like a mentor stuff. There's a whole thing.
Anyway, but they said that he never opened the fridge in his house.
Never what?
He never opened the refrigerator. It means if they served him something, he ate. If they didn't serve him, he didn't eat.
Woo!
He was learning. He didn't. Okay. Amar Rabba. Rabba says, so here's our question, right? You got a question? Question is, so how do you continue the service? How do you finish it if you've already invalidated with thoughts of pigul? So Amar Rabba, Mishkachas, Rabba gives us this wild answer. He says, Barba Param Barba Sirim. Talking about over here, you started off doing the service. You had thoughts of pigul. Then the blood spilled. So you have to finish the other parts with getting another animal. So he says you have 4 parim. Usually you're supposed to have a par and the sar, right? The goat and the bull and the goat from Kippur. He says the only way to do this would be that if every time you have thoughts of pigul, the blood spills, and you have to bring a new sacrifice. And we're going to follow the opinion that holds that you don't need to go back and start again. We're going to following the opinion that you could just continue where you left off. So, that's an opinion over there. Anyway, so it would come out that the next one that you're bringing is not possible because of the thoughts from the last time. No, this is a brand new one. And that's the way you're going to be able to finish it. Anyway, that's a wild answer. That means that this case is only going to work out only in this strange case where the blood keeps spilling every time you have thoughts of pigul. And then Reb Meir would step in and say, that when half of it is when one section of this was pigul, then we would consider it pigul, and the Chacham would say, no, it's not pigul. You follow? How do we have this machlekes Reb Meir and the Chacham is only in this strange case? Okay. Rabba says, Rabba gives us a much easier teretz. Rabba says that I know it's not so it's not really valid. You're sprinkling water, but to make it pigel, we'll consider it valid enough that it becomes pigel. You heard the teretz. We'll say it's a sprinkling of the blood enough to make it pigel. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect except for the pigel, right? Sprinkling the blood afterwards is going to make it pigel. We had a question where we said it's not even blood. It's nothing. It's not even nothing. It's water. So we're saying, well, for pigel, we'll consider it blood. This is the way pigel works.
Amen.
Mar asks now, Arbon b'shalosh, Vatanya Arbon b'sheva. They have like a mem. Arbon b'shalosh. I have Arbon. Okay. 43. It says 43 applications of blood. There's really 47. Marian says like Kasha. Ha, Kamandamar Marvin Lekranes. Ha, Kamandamar Ein Marvin Lekranes. Ein Marvin. Okay. There's a machlekes. They would sprinkle the blood inside the Kiddush HaKadoshim. Then they would sprinkle the blood on the Perechas.
Oh boy.
And then they would mix the bloods. Hey.
It's Russell overnight.
Snoopy.
Not one.
Then they would mix the two bloods together, and then they would sprinkle on the mizbeach. So there's two opinions. One opinion says they would the blood was mixed before the application on the corners, and the other
27 degrees down.
how much?
27.
27, really?
37, and with the chill factor, it's
27.
Don't go against the wind.
Don't go against the
I can't
wind.
hear you because he's got earmuffs.
I said with the chill factor,
Yeah.
it's 27. So he says don't walk against the wind. Only follow the wind. Only walk with the wind. Go with the wind. Let's go on with the wind. So there's a machlekes. It went to mix the two bloods together of the bull and the goat. Does it mix before the application on the corners, or is it mixed after that on the corners, before it's sprinkled the 7 times on the top? So if you say that it's mixed before the application on the corners, then you cut out 4 extra applications because you're doing them both together, right? But if you say that it's mixed afterwards, then you're doing them independently. You're doing the bull as 4, and then you're doing the goat as 4. So you get 47 instead of 43. Okay, but I have another opinion that says it's 48. The Gemara says like Kash, so that's not a problem. We had a machlekes in Zvachim. If the shirayim of the pouring of the remnant of the blood is ma'akiv, the entire thing, you have to pour the remnant of the blood onto the foundation of the outer altar. Is that ma'akiv? Does that affect the validity if it's not done? If you say that it affects the validity, then there's really 48, according to the opinion that says that there was 47 before him. Okay, Bailo, the yeshiva has a question.
Isn't that last pouring like after the fact?
Yeah, after the fact of everything. There's one opinion that holds that in the karbanos, that the blood is brought inside the heichal, that the shirayim is makiv. Everything is makiv according to that opinion. Bailo, pigel b'hilacha. We spoke about that there's the concept of chatziyam mater. The concept of chatziyam mater applies to the burning of the kaimetz, because they have 2 things that need to get burned, need to get offered on the altar. One is the kaimetz, the scoop. The other one is the levina, the frankincense. But the kmitza itself, that service, is only on the scoop, is only on the flour and oil. It's not on the levina. So over there's only one mater. What about the walking it up, the putting it into a keli? That's the stuff. Putting it into a keli. That's only the kmitza needs to be put into the keli. The levina doesn't need to be put into the keli. So those two are there's no such thing as a chatzi amater over there because there's only one thing that you have to do. It's only by this. It's not by the levina. Then we said that by the haktara there's two. So over there you can have a chatzi amater if you only did one, but not the other. The kaimitz is not the levina. What about the halacha? You have to walk it from where you did the kmitza up to the altar. You have to walk the levina also. There's a question. Pigel by halacha mahu. Let's say he has thoughts to offer it up, but to eat the shirayim after a lot of time while he's walking it to the altar. Is that considered chatzi mater, or is that considered the whole mater? In other words, is there walking by the levina? Amar Rabbi Yechanan, halacha kikmitza. Rabbi Yechanan says that the halacha is just like kmitza, which there's only one halacha here. It's a avodah shlema. There's no, it's not chatzi mater. So that would be absolute pigel. Rish Lakish says halacha kaktara. No, there's also halacha by the levina. So it's considered half the job. That's considered chatzi mater. Gemara says bishlam l'Rish Lakish. We understand the reason of Rish Lakish ekanami halacha the levina because that's the fact. You have to take the levina to the altar. Although Rabbi Yechanan, my time, what's Rabbi Yechanan thinking when he says? Excuse me. When he says that it's the entire mat. So Amar Rava. Rava says, "Kasav Rabbi Yechanan, kol avodah she'ena materes, avodah chashuri lefagel el b'fnei atzma." So Rabbi Yechanan comes up with this logic. He says, anything that's not ma'akiv, the kapara, because you can do without it. So it's a little counterintuitive. It's so significant that anything that you can do without becomes so significant that it's considered an avodah on its own. I'll give you the explanation. It's considered the avodah on its own that it's not considered chatzi amat. It's not considered half. The explanation is like this: since I could do without the halacha because I could do the kmitza right next to the mizbeah, or I can just pass it from one person to another, but I don't have to walk. But since I can do that for the levina also, so it's possible that this is the only one that's going to have halacha, and the levina won't even have halacha. So anything that's not materes, anything that's it uses the term materes. It comes from the name materes. There's a discussion here. What's the pshat really? Whatever the case is, this is one of the interpretations. Do you have a comment on that in your? You're translating it's not critical. Any avodah does not permit the offering for consumption is literally. So this is Rava. Literally, it means any avodah that does not permit the offering for consumption is considered significant avodah in respect that one has the ability to affect pigel through it independently of any other avodah. And since conveying is halacha, is not critical to the permissibility of the offering, and intent involving conveying the kaimitz alone can affect pigel. The avodah of halacha is not critical. That's how they translate over here, which is not the way it goes in the inside. It's not absolutely necessary to perform the avodah, which consists of walking. Okay, the way we explained it is the way Rashi says it. Since halacha can be eliminated altogether, it's not considered critical to permitting the offering. It's therefore not in the category of avodah that is a mater. According to Paul. What do you mean the conclusion? Yeah, once it's on the that is the conclusion. That's the final part, putting it on the altar. Here you're walking it to the altar. Yeah, there was a discussion with Matan Kaylee as how significant that is. No, because that you didn't offer it yet. That's just you take the kaimetz and you put it into a keli. There was a discussion if you can do away with that. Yeah. Or we said if you do it by hand, then it has one halacha. If you do it with using a vessel, it has another halacha, right? So this is the question. If halacha is machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, we just explained Rabbi Yochanan that because it's not critical, so therefore it's going to invalidate on its own independently. I just think it's counterintuitive. You would think that any avodah that's not critical either would not matter at all, but not that it should become so significant that nothing else matters. You hear what's happening? It's a little counterintuitive. But I think the way to understand it is we say that since it's not critical, then the other one, the halacha of the levaina, is also not critical. So maybe the only one that's going to be performed here is the halacha of the kaimetz, which means this is all there is. So then this becomes the entire avodah, and it's not chatzi amater, it's kula mater. This is the whole thing, because the other half of it isn't critical. Maybe the other half won't be done. I think that makes it easier to understand. I don't know if that's the 100% pshat, but then it definitely helps digest it. So, Amalei Abaya says, Rishchitas echad min hakvasim, da avodah sheina matirta, dupligi. So it goes like this. There's two lambs that are slaughtered on Yom Kippur. Now, the slaughtering of the lamb does not permit the loaves to be eaten. Only the sprinkling of the blood. So we're back to the same thing. It says this is not a matir. Just like we said by the halacha, that the halacha wasn't a matir. What does the halacha allow for? It doesn't allow. It's not that it's allowing something else to be performed. So the shechita doesn't allow anything else to be performed. And nevertheless, we said
it allows you to go to the next step.
Ah, very good. We'll see in a second. And upligi, and there's a machlekes. If
kidney beans.
Do you need to have both kvasim, both lambs, slaughtered with the wrong intent or not? Titanan shachar echad min hakvasim lechol shtei chalais l'machar sheikter echad min habazichen lechol shnei sedarim l'machar remeir mipigel v'chil l'kars v'mer m'shem b'kar such yifaga b'chol amater. In this discussion of if we say that the machlekes Ramei and the Chachamim is on this, you're telling me that anything that's not a mater, everyone agrees is going to be kula mater. Is going to be cool. It's going to be the entire avodah, because maybe you're not going to. Well, actually, the way of translating it, the way we said it, doesn't fit perfectly with this. The way we translated it last time is because maybe you won't do the other one, and this will be the only one that you're going to do. Now it doesn't fit. The Mefarshim discussed that this is a big problem with the way Rashi was learning. So whatever the case is, you have to go back to the original translation of that. It's not a mater. It's not a mater. The walking to the altar was not a mater, so we consider it the entire avodah. The shechita is not a mater, so we consider it the entire avodah. Problem is, we have a Mishnah or a Brisa that says that that's the machlekes, the Rebbein and the Chachamim. This is Abaya's question. Amalei, so Rava responds to Abaya, Mi savret lechem betaner kadesh. Do you think that the bread becomes holy in the oven? Shchitas hakvasim mekad shalei. It's the slaughtering that's actually consecrating it. Babala kadesh kabbalah hatedami. And making it consecrated is like being matered. So it does have its effect. It is effective, and so therefore, I need both of them, and that's why it will be a machlekes from Meir and the Chachamim. Masiv Rav Simi Barashi. Acher Maimrim. Tim Barashi has a question. Others say. Usually that's Rav Meir. Rav Meir is called others, right? Remember from Hiris? Hiktim mulam la'arelim.
think it's maybe because once Mayor, by time Mayor slips on the others one along.
Couldn't catch it.
I'll see.
He was in the solo act.
I love it. It's like falling.
Well, we have another person that's called Other. That's
Well,
Elisha
that's-
ben
Oh,
Avuya,
yeah.
called Acher.
Because no one went along with him. He did the wrong
So
thing.
he became another.
Yeah.
And,
Dr. Steins.
but the Acherim, some say that he's called Acherim only on those items that he heard from Acher. But Elisha ben Avuya was Rabbi's
So
teacher.
then it's the two of them together.
So others say it's coming from Acher. That's what someone learned. Anyway.
Or maybe learn it from her.
What's the practical difference if it's an avoda or not an avoda, these steps? In each case, don't you have to start over?
If it's an Avodah Shlema, what we're looking at over here, is it considered Avodah Shlema, or is it considered a half a Avodah?
But what's the practical difference for the person bringing the carbon?
So, practical difference is, will it invalidate? Will the carbon turn into pigel?
Okay.
And the practical difference if it's pigel is if someone eats it, if he's chayiv karas.
But what's the difference if pigel is always to one aspect. It's about one thing, and it makes it all invalid. Right? I think.
Right.
So
you're saying the owner is going to need to bring it again anyway?
yes.
Yeah, the owner is going to need to bring it again. The question is that if someone goes ahead and eats it, what type of prohibition is that? Is that like eating non-kosher food, or is it like eating on Yom Kippur?
You mean after it's all done, it's discovered that somebody had the wrong thought?
Yeah. Well, let's assume that when we talk about thoughts over here, we talk about an announcement that the Kayan's saying. It's easier to follow this. There's a machlekes Rashi and Taisus when it says machshava, if it means thoughts or if it means an announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "I'm doing this to eat this tomorrow. We're going to eat this tomorrow." So, and then so the sacrifice becomes puzzle, and then someone goes ahead and eats it, whether today or tomorrow. So it's then if it's pigel, so then there's a chiyuv kares. If it was just puzzle, then it's puzzle.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and the question over here is how does it become pigel? It would need to be avodah shlema. It would need to be the full mater, not a half a mater. That's only according to Reb Meir would be pigel. So now Reb Meir says like this: Achirim say that when a person is slaughtering a carbon pesach, and he slaughters the first, there's two pipes. Slaughters the first one. He says hiktim mumin la'arelim, mulin la'arelim. As intention for people that had a bris for the first pipe, and when he's slaughtering the second pipe of the trachea and the esophagus and the shechita, he has intention for people that didn't have their circumcision yet, whatever reason, they didn't have the circumcision. It says kasher, the group
of people that's going to eat that one.
Right, exactly, the group. Now, so kasher, it's kasher. Iktim arelim lemulim. But if it was done the other way, that you had first intention for the people that were not eligible to eat the carbon pesach because they didn't have a circumcision, and then afterwards you had the intention for the people that did. So it says puzzle. That's the opinion of Achirim. According to the Chachamim, both are kosher. Whoever kaimalan the bechatzimat pligi. Why is Reb Meir saying this? Because one pipe is considered chatzimata. The Meir says that you can have pigel b'chatzimata. Says you can also mess it up if you do the arelim first with chatzimata. The Chachamim say that you're not mefagel b'chatzimata, and so therefore, if you have the wrong intention with one pipe, that's nothing. Not chatziyaved as well. So what's the question? I'm sorry.
It's a pipe dream.
A pipe dream. I hear. Okay.
You know what I hear?
So who are we asking on now? We're asking on Rish Lakish or Rabbi Yochanan. No, we're asking on Rava. Rava said, "Kol avodah she'ena materes, avodah chashuv le'lefagel lev b'fnei atzma." Said that the shechita. Rava says, "Lechem b'taner kadosh shechita zakvasim mekad shalei." Yes, he's asking on Rava that Rava was saying that the shechita affects the bread, and so therefore it's considered it's not an avodah shlema. It needs to have the shechita of both kvasim, right? In order for it to be pigul, right? Because it needs to be, or else unless you follow Reb Meir. Now, not everyone is going to agree that this is considered an avodah shlema by the shechita, right? Yeah, but here we have two lambs that need to be slaughtered for Shavuos. So we said that was a machlekes Chacham and Rameir. We said, why was it machlekes? It's not, the shechita is not matir anything. So Rebbe says, no, it's matir the bread because it consecrates the bread. Now we're seeing that we have the same machlekes by a shechita that doesn't have bread by the Korban Pesach. So what's Rebbe's teretz? So Rebbe responds, mi savris dam b'tzaver be'ema kadesh. Do you think that the blood that's going to be sprinkled becomes consecrated because it touches the neck of the animal? Dam sakin makachle. It's the knife that makes it consecrated because the knife cuts through the neck and it touches the blood. Just like we said, that what becomes a matir is the same as making it consecrated. Yeah? So the shechita is considered a matir as well. Tashema, which means that if you need to do two shechitas, so then it's going to be half a matir. Oh yeah, and now it turns out is that each pipe is going to be a half a matir. Yeah. We didn't mention that yet.
So when it comes to a behemoth that has no extra mincha attached to it, there's actually three matirim because there's matir of the shechita with 2 pipes plus the shrika, because the shrika is also
Right.
matir.
Right.
Like never stops.
Tashema. Question on Rish Lakish. When do we say that the kaimetz itself is pigul? That's b'kmitza matan kele b'hilach. However, by the Haktara, we're going to say that that's only Chatzer Mater, right? That was a brayso that we quoted Friday or Thursday. Yeah, because the Kaimetz, the Matan Keli, and Hilach only apply to the Kmitza. That doesn't apply to the Levina. The problem is, my love, Hilach to Haktara. Obviously, we're talking about that the Halacha, when you take it to the altar to offer it, only applies to the Kmitza and not to the Levina. So what's Rish Lakish saying? That the Kmitza is like the Haktara, which there's the Halacha is like the Haktara, which there's 2 of them, and so therefore it's Chatzi Amater. We have a clear brayso that says that it's not, there's no Halacha by the Levina. Gemara says like Hilach the Matan Keli. We're not talking about walking it to the altar to offer it. We're talking about walking it over to the keli to put it into the keli. That only applies to the kmitza. We developed a new avodah here.
But you can do kmitza without it.
Do kmitza without, but
you can just walk it to the.
But if you do use a keli, then walking into the keli is also, but also thoughts would affect walking into a keli. Where it says yihachi. Matan keli ubehilach, it should be behilach and matan keli mi bayale. The order is wrong. If we're saying over here, the kmitza matan keli ubehilach, sounds like the chronological order is first you do the kmitza, then you put it into the vessel, then you walk it to the altar.
Right.
But really, the way you're explaining it now is that you do the kmitza, you walk to the vessel, you do the hilach, and then you put it into the vessel. So the hilach should have been between the kmitza and the matan keli, according to this version, according to this interpretation. This is halei kasha tiniyachi. Don't worry, we can with a little whiteout we can fix that, and it will say kmitza kaimetz hailach matan keli. Where it says, 1 second, bolay laktara, when it goes on and it says, however, when it comes to the aktara and you only have the pigel in one of them, it should say bolay lahaylacha mi bayilei. Now that you're telling me that haylacha is also a chatzi amater, so you're gonna introduce the machlekes Reb Meir and the chachamim. Why do you introduce it by the haktara? You should introduce it by the haylacha. That's halei kasha. We call that all haktara. It goes on in the same category of the offering up on the altar. When it says that if you do the kaimitz quietly and you do the you have thoughts by this and the silence over there, one of them should have been hailach, walking it. Because that would only be half the matter, and the Gemara says kasha. Okay, that's a question on Rish Lakish. Okay, now we did introduce that in one service it's possible to divide it up and have a half a matter there as well. Now the Gemara says, let's say hikter shumshum lechol shumshum ad shekala kaimetz kula. You know what shumshum is? Sesame. Nice. Sesame. Nice. Yeah, but we're not talking about sesame seeds. We're talking about the size of a sesame seed. The size of a sesame seed. In other words, when you're offering up the kaimetz, you're putting little pieces on the altar, one little piece at a time. And while you're doing that, you have thoughts of eating tomorrow. Maybe the amount of a shumshum. There's two versions to this Gemara.
What do you mean he's like slowly pouring a little bit at a time?
He's dropping a little bit at a time, but it was already in a vessel, let's say.
And
he's just putting on the altar just little bits. So, and he has thoughts. And he does this until he finishes the entire kaimet. So he ends up burning the whole kaimet. It's not a problem with that he didn't do the right amount. He did the right amount. It's this slow process. Well, it's a machlekes now. Rav Chisner, Rav Hamnuna. I'm sorry, Rav Chisner, Rav Hamnuna, Rav Sheshes. There's three people there. Chadam or pigel. One says that would affect the pigel. Would turn it into pigel. Chadam or pasul. One says that it's only invalid, but it's not pigel. The Chadam or kasher. One says that it's totally kasher. Lema. We can explain this machlekes like this. You have three possible opinions, right? Mandam or pigel karameir. One that says that it's pigel because he holds chatzi amater is what Rameir holds, and he's following Rameir's opinion. Mandam or pasul karabanan. The one that says that it's pasul is like the rabbanan that say chatzi amater is no karis, but it's still invalid. Mandam or kasher karebi. One that says that it's kasher was the opinion of Rebbe that we had before. Rebbe says that I say that it's kasher. You say that two things don't combine. It doesn't combine, and it's going to be kasher. Gemara says, "Mimai." This is a very interesting Gemara. Gemara says, "Why? What's your source? What's compelling you to say this?" Each one of these opinions, I can tell you, doesn't hold of this. Maybe Reb Meir only said over there that there's a concept of chatzia mater, the chishiv b'shiyuroi. That's only because you had the thoughts by an actual shir. You did something, and it was significant what you did. And over there, Reb Meir says that that's chatzia mater. However, here you did nothing. Each one was insignificant. Every little drop, sesame size thing that you put onto the altar, that wasn't even a shear. Maybe Reb Meir wouldn't say this is a chatzi mater. Maybe loy badkan like kamar rabbanon hasam. When did Rabbanon say that it's not pigel? Like chishbei b'kulam mater. Aval hachad chishbei b'kulam mater. It's a hachinami the pagel. But when did the Rabbanon say that it's not pigel because it's only chatzi mater? That's when you only thought about it by chatzi mater. But here you're thinking about it by the whole mater. I know you divide it up into 100 steps, but ultimately at the end, you thought about it to the whole mater. So who says that the Rabbanon hold that this is not going to be pigel? You never gave you never taught me this, that the Rabbanon holds that this is not pigel. The only case of the Rabbanon not pigel was when you had intention for half of it. Here you had intention for all of it. You know, you divided it up, but it was all of it. And then Vadkan like Rabbi Hassan. When did Rabbi say that two halves don't combine? That's the Leihadar Malia Me'aseh Avodah. That's only if you didn't finish this Avodah itself. What was Rabbi talking about? When he had thoughts of a kazayas from this lamb to eat tomorrow, and a half a zayas of this lamb, and half a zayas of that lamb. They said they didn't combine. So but over here, it's one thing. It's what do you mean? It's all Abulhacha, the Hadar Malia, you completed. The apostle. Rabbi would say that this is possible. Very interesting. It's like we had a whole explanation, and then we just knocked off every single one of them. Doesn't actually fit. Right? That's what we're saying. Maybe Rebbe would say, even though Rebbe says two things don't combine, but that's only two things from two different animals, two different avodas. Over here, it's all one avodah, so it should combine. Got a beautiful shot. This is someone said that wanted to describe the difference between Reb Chaim Soloveitchik and his son, the Brisker Rav. They had a question in the Rambam, contradiction in the Rambam. It said Reb Chaim was a ma'anis. Ma'anis is like when you translate it, it doesn't sound good at all. A rapist. They said because if it was so coerced, it was so compelling that there's no other way to learn it other than this. That was the example. They said that the Brisker Rav, the son, was a mafata, a seducer. They said if you learn it like this, it comes out so beautiful. Well, that's the way they described it to different. And then there was. That's way back. Then they said another one. I'm not going to say who, but they said our next person was a Mitzi Shemra. Like anyway, that was the yeshiva jokes. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work in translation. Ella. So we have to say we have to explain this this machlekes. Machlekes between Rav Chisda, Rav Hamnuna, and Rav Sheshes, where if you offer it up like one little drop at a time, it says Manda Amar Pigel. The one that says that it's Pigel, we don't know which one it is, but he holds Divrei Hakol. Manda Amar Pasol Divrei Hakol. Manda Amar Kashik Divrei Hakol. One that says Pigel is following all the opinions. One that Rebbe and the Chachamim. The one that says, but he's just going to need to explain it. One that says Pasol is following all the opinions, and the one that says Kasher is going to follow. Manda Amar Pigel. How does he say pigel according to everyone? Divrei Hakol, the kasavar derech achila bekach. He says that this is typical way of eating, that you eat little drops, so it's considered a machshava on the whole thing. The derech haktar bekach, and this is the way you can offer it up as well. So it's considered a regular avodah. Mandam pasal divrei Hakol. I'm sorry. Mandam pasal divrei Hakol kasavar derech achila bekach. Maybe it's ein derech achila bekach. Let me see if that's correct. Well, they take it out. Even though this is not the way of eating, but this still
Maybe
is.
Maybe it's in derech. Yes, this is derech, but ein, it's not.
So therefore, so it's possible not because of the pigel thoughts. It's possible because you didn't offer it up in the normal way. So it becomes possible. All of a sudden, we introduced a new problem here. Mandamar kosher. The one that says that it's kosher, he's going to follow all the opinions. This is not the way of eating. Even though this is the way of offering it up on the altar, you can offer it up slowly. You can put little pieces on so it should get consumed by the fire. But eating, you eat it properly, like a sandwich. You eat the whole thing. And so this is not the way. So when the person had thoughts of each one that he's going to eat a drop of the shiraim, he's going to eat a drop of the shiraim, he's going to eat a drop of the shiraim. Right, like that. That's not a way of eating. You can't. So and ultimately it's going to be kosher. Amri, this is Harifi de Pumpadisa. The sharp ones of Pumpadisa. We had them in Sanhedrin, I think we had said, who are the Harifi de Pumpadisa? This is Efa and Avimi, the sons of Rachba. So they said like this: Haktara Mitfargeles Haktara. Someone offers the kaimetz with intention to offer the levina tomorrow. You see, usually when it came to pigul, we were saying that if someone has intention for while he's doing the kmitza, he has intention when he's gonna offer the kaimetz on the altar tomorrow, or he has intention when he's gonna eat the shirayim. But over here, he's doing the haktara of the kaimetz, and he has intention of that he's going to do the haktara of the levina tomorrow. A little different than our other cases. What we're saying here, usually we said that one mater is not befagel another mater. But over here, it's saying it's a little different. He's saying, Rashi says, you can't compare this to someone that's shechting the sheep today with intention to eat from the other one tomorrow. Because over there, it wasn't in one keli. So it's not going to affect the other one. Remember, we had thoughts of one sheep, one of the lambs regarding the other lamb. While he's offering one lamb, he has thoughts of the other lamb. He said that was considered kosher. That was nothing. But over here, because they're all in one keli, so it would affect it. Anyway, that's the opinion of Harifid ben Pedisa. That's only if you're doing the kaimetz and you have intention when you're going to eat the shirayim. So we said you're only thinking about half of it. But the levina, which is the other half of the mater, is still intact. Over here, he's messing the whole thing up because half the mater is what he's doing, and the other half of the mater is what he's thinking about. And so therefore it's considered kula mater. That's what Harifei the Pumbedisas say. Rava says we learned this in the Mishnah as well. The Mishnah taught the rule is kol hakaimetz v'nasim bekeli v'amelech v'amakter lechol davar shadak lechol hakter davar shadak lahakter. We say chutz lam kaima is pasal vein bekaris chutz l'zmani pigol v'chem lam karis. If you have intentions out of the allotted place, it's pasal. Out of the allotted time, it's pigol. Okay, what you have to do is you have to read very carefully what just happened there. What were our options? We said you did the kmitza. You put it into the vessel, you walked it to the altar, and you offered up the kaimetz. You offered it up. And what were your thoughts? Your thoughts were to eat something that was edible out of the allotted time, which that would be the shirayim, or to offer something that's offerable out of the allotted time. So in all those cases, I did the kmitza, an intention to offer the kmitza out of the allotted time. But let's say, in the last case, I'm doing the offering of the kmitza. What am I going to offer out of the allotted time?
You mean if you do the kmitza in the correct time?
I'm doing the kmitza right now, and I have thoughts of offering something that's offerable out of the... What could it be? The only thing it could be, the Gemara says, Rav is talking, my love, haktara dumya dahanach. Haktara, offering, is the same like the earlier cases. Ma'ahanach bein lechol bein lahakter, afaktara bein lechol bein lahakter. It must be. The only other thing that you could offer is the levina. Just like by the other cases, you were going to offer the kaimetz. So to over here, you're going to offer. So what? When you're offering the kaimetz, what are you thinking about? That you're going to offer the levina tomorrow. In other words, I need the case of aktara to match the earlier cases exactly the same. Gemara says, maybe not. Hanach bein lechol bein lahakter. The earlier cases where you had something to offer, then you had the option of you're going to eat the shirayim or you're going to offer something out of the allotted time. But when it comes to aktara, lechol and lahakter, there's nothing else to offer. Maybe not. Maybe you're trying to make it perfectly that all the four options of kmitza, matan keli, halach, and aktara are perfectly symmetrical. That they have all the options. Aktara turns out maybe is different. Doesn't have all the options. Yosef Rab Menashe. I'm sorry, I skipped the line. I think lechol in lahakter. Okay. Yosef Rab Menashe bar Gada kamida by Yosef Kamar Mishmeder of Chisda. Rab Menashe bar Gada sitting in front of Abaya, and he's saying something in the name of Rav Chisda. It says, "Ein aktara mefagelas aktara." If you have intention while you're offering the kaimitz that you're going to offer the levina, says that's nothing. That's not. It's not pigul. I feel Rav Meir that mefagel mechatzi amata ani mili hechad dechishabu b'shirayim. The kaimitz mata to do. Aval hacha the kaimitz lav mata the levina lematz mefagel. He's saying that when does Rav Meir say that you can be pigul b'chatzi amata? That's when you're doing the kaimitz, you're offering up the kaimitz, and you have intention that you're going to eat the remnant of the mincha tomorrow. And it's only half the matir because you didn't offer the levina with those thoughts. But over here, you're having thoughts about the levina while you're doing the kaimitz. He says that's one matir, having thoughts about another matir. And the kaimitz is not the matter of the levina. Those can each be done out of order. You can offer the levina before the kaimitz. It's not dependent on it. Amalei Abaya, so Abaya says back to Rabbi Menashe, he says, Ani Mari, answer, master. Mishmei de Rav. Ani Mari Mishmei de Rav. I think you have this is like a question. Ani Mari Mishmei de Rav. Are you saying what you're saying in the name of Rav Chisda? Amalayin. He says, yeah, this is what Rav Chisda says. It's manami. We even have a statement. Am Rav Chisda Marav ein aktara mefagal saktara. So it's exactly the opposite of the Bnei Rachba, of the Charifi de Pumpadisa. They said Haktara Mefagelas Haktara. Rav Chisda says Ein Haktara Mefagelas Haktara. That the kaimitz cannot affect you can't have thoughts by the kaimitz about regarding the levina. Rav Yaakov Baridi Mishmei da Abaya Fanana Mitanida. We have this also in a Mishnah. It says Shachar Echan Menach Basim. Someone slaughters one of the lambs of Shavuos, and he has intention lechol mimenu lemachar, to eat from it tomorrow. Who pigel v'chaver kasher? So that this one lamb becomes pigel, and the other one is going to be kasher. Lechol mechaver lemachar shneim ksherim. If he has intention to eat from the other one, then they're both going to be kasher, because we said that you can't affect the other one while you're doing this one. My timer, lav misham dekivin lav mata dideyu, because the first lamb doesn't permit the other lamb. The other lamb could have been slaughtered before this one, so therefore matzah mavagale. So we see that if it's not permitting the other one, it doesn't have pigel on it. It says lie. That's not a good proof, because Hasim who wasn't in one vessel. Like we learned before from Rashi, it's all considered one, and maybe it could become pigel. We don't have a raya from that Mishnah. But even turns it to Abaya, to Bar Abba. They explain that it's because Rabbi Yaakov Baridi wasn't a student of Abaya. Where do they quote that from? Okay, that's good. Amar Rav Amnuna. Rav Amnuna says, Ha milsa avlali Rabbi Chanina. This following matter, I was taught. Avla means I absorbed by Rabbi Chanina. Utekila li kekula talmudai. And it's as significant to me as everything that I learned. Hikter kaimetz lakte levina. Someone is offering up the kaimetz with intention to offer the levina in the wrong time, and at the same time lechol shirayim lemach. He's also thinking that he's going to eat the shirayim. It's going to be pigel. So he has two thoughts that are wrong going on while he's offering the kaimetz. My kamashman, what is his point? And you only have two things. You want to know, well, which one is the one that is the significant one? Is he coming to tell me that the Levina, that thoughts about the Levina would invalidate it and turn it into like the Bnei Rachva said, like the Charifi the Pumbedisa said? Lema hiktakaimis ak the Levina. So why doesn't he just tell me his point? It's confusing me with other matters which aren't significant. If he's coming to tell me that it's Chatzia Mater, that your main point is that he's passing like Reb Meir that says if thoughts by the Kaimetz could affect the Pigel, even though you didn't have thoughts by the Levina, so why does he have to mention the Levina? Itarvayu kamashma. If he's coming to teach me both, could tell me both options. You're putting them both together. I'm left with nothing. I don't know what your point is. Really holds that one, it's not mefagel, the levina, if he has doing the kaimetz while thoughts about the levina. And also, he also doesn't hold like Reb Meir, that mefagel mechatzia mater, that if he just has thoughts of the shirayim while he's doing this. So why over here is it going to be pigel? Not this is good and not that is good. It says, V'shani hacha, the pashle machshava b'kol mincha, because his thoughts are covering every possible aspect of the mincha, it turns it into pigel. It's interesting that even though each one independently wouldn't work, but combined together becomes pigel, because he's having thoughts of the levina, which we said that that's not really considered pigel, because it's not the mater, the kaimitz isn't the mater of the levina, and he's having thoughts about the shirayim, but that's only chatzia mater, so that shouldn't be pigel either. But because he's having thoughts at the same time of the levina, so it's considered like he's like everything here. There's no chatzia mater, and it's considered like he's having thoughts on the mater for the shirayim. Independently, it won't invalidate it. Combined together, it does. No, we're combining it because I have both matirim. I don't have a chatzia mater, because I have the kaimetz and the levina involved in this, even though I'm not offering the levina now, but I have thoughts of the levina. Let's see, there's a note over here that they're sending me to the back. Okay, this is interesting. It's not, whatever the case is, it's not, you see, a lot of times you hear things like this in the world. They try to prove you, telling you something. They tell you, I'll prove it to you because of this and that. They say, well, that's not such a good proof. They said, but I have another proof. And they give you something else. They said, but that's not a good proof either. They said, well, I'll give you another proof. And but that's not a good proof either. They keep going on, and none of them are valid proofs. And they say, yeah, but I had 100 proofs for you. So here what we're saying is this one doesn't work and this one doesn't work, but together they do work. It's not because when you have a lot of weak points they add up to a strong point. It's not because of that. Every weak point is just as weak as when you started. Only thing is, what's happening here is that you're actually resolving the weak points by including the levina into it, and instead of being the chatzia mater, it becomes the entire mater. Yeah, things are getting resolved. It's not like we accept weak proofs and then you have a bunch of them.
Oh,
it's
no,
all
it
good.
sounds like circumstantial.
Okay.
Jeff says 100%.
So we did.
Itself is invalid, but altogether they amount to being.
Yeah, but it's not because
the sum is greater than the sum is
greater than
the whole
parts.
is greater than the sum of its parts.
A minute to get it out.
That's what we started.
If you have an example of what this I don't want it to be compared to, is that if you have a woman that's not a valid witness, you have a child that's not a valid witness, you have someone that's a thief that's not a valid witness, So well, let's put them all together, and it should be valid. It should be valid.
Yeah.
It's not. It's it's all not counted.
Yeah.
But over here, they're resolving the issues, and so it's becoming valid. Yeah, Reb Naftali, you wanted to say something?
A question. I hesitate to ask it because I think it's a childish question. I'm trying to understand what has been decided here. They have decided how things were done in the base of Mikdash, right? I'm trying to understand how that applies to the base of Mikdash, which is coming. Does it have any relationship?
Well, that was my question also.
So, I mean, these are very technical details. And when we're thinking about Mashiach, we're thinking about like world peace and sacrifices and Moshe and Aaron coming and telling us everything that how to do. We're not thinking about. Well, let's say the Kayan has intention. We're not thinking about the practical. It's like, but how how are we going to get there? And like, let's say he messes up the carbon. We're not thinking about that. But it turns out that there is a machlekes regarding if someone has thoughts by the Kmitza, if about the Levina, is that going to invalidate it? Will it make it piggle? And
I guess I'm asking this question because I'm wondering how Abaya and Rava and Rav Papa, how do they have an opinion about this? They can't have an opinion. They can only have a Masorah that they received.
yeah, they can have the Messiah, and they're using also logic based on what they on comparisons. Yeah, and what they
Yeah.
understand from the psukim in comparison.
Also, another question. You said right at the beginning of this year, I think you talked about sprinkling blood bein habadim.
Yeah, bein abadim. Yeah.
Which of the altars had badim?
So this is the only on Yom Kippur was this.
Only on, okay, that was my question.
Bein abadim means by the staffs of
Right,
the Aron.
right. So it's only one person on one day a year.
Yeah. Now in the Mishkan, I think in the Mishkan, I think the Aron, the Mizbeach Hazav had badim, but not in the
Yeah. The
not in
reason
the
I'm asking, it's a little hard for me to understand how a Kohen Gadol, who only shows up to do this once a year,
right.
could be Piegel. How in the
Uh-huh.
world could he make a mistake?
Right.
Oh, trust me, it's
Right. Theoretical.
Historically, there were plenty of Kohen Gadol
Right.
that weren't supposed to be Kohen Gadol.
Right.
What did Rennie say? What, Rennie?
And he's
about
saying
it.
in the Second Temple, there were people that were buying the position and they weren't doing it right.
Yeah, but he shows up once a year to do this. How can he get it wrong?
Because he never should have been the Kohen Gadol. That's why the queen wasn't king.
Okay.
Well, I have a question. If Naftali's finished, is he finished, or
I'm finished, Rennie. Thank you.
did we finish saying that with the sum of its parts that it does add up or it doesn't add up if each of the individual
Saying that it's adding up.
it adds up that it can make something piggle?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Why can't we bring? Isn't that similar to that famous story of the blind man and the
Right.
lame? So each
Right.
one claimed I'm
Right.
not, but
Right.
together they committed the crime,
Right.
and then
That's a
together
good example. Very good. He started talking about the king that goes away, and he has two servants. One is blind and one is lame, and he comes back and the fruits of the tree are missing. Anyways, he calls in the servants. The blind one says, how can I have taken it? I can't even see." The lame one says, "How could I have taken it? I couldn't. I couldn't even get there." So he brings them both together. He puts the blind one on the bottom. He puts the lame one on the top, on his shoulders, and he gives them lashes both together. So anyway, that's okay. Tani Tana. The Tana is the yeshiva library. Is the person that memorizes all the brises. He says, Tani Tana Kameder Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba. He taught the following brisa. It says, Hikta kaimetz lechol shirayim the divrei hakol pigel. If someone is offering the kaimetz to eat the shirayim tomorrow, everyone says it's pigel. Says 1 second, that's pigel. That's a machlekes Rabbi and the Chachamim. Where it says miflik pligi. That's exactly the machlekes we've been learning last like a week about Rabbi and the Chachamim. What are you doing? Ella ema the divrei hakol pasel. Everyone's going to say it's pasel. Even the Chachamim that say it's not pigel, but they'll still say it's pasel. Lema harizeh pigel v'rameir. Why doesn't he just say harizeh pigel? And it's the opinion of Rav Meir. Why does he have to say divrei hakol pigel? It says Tana divrei hakol esnaya. No, he was saying a brisa. The brisa says divrei hakol. So it says pigel v'pasel michlaf. It's possible that the word pigel and pasel got confused, but harizeh b'divrei hakol le'michlaf. But the words harizeh do not get confused with divrei hakol. So when we're editing a brisa, we're going to edit it with the most most possible way of something that was confused. We're going to adjust it from pigel to pasel, but not from harizeh to divrei hakol. Okay. Not from a divrei hakol to harizeh. Okay. Mincha to the 3rd chapter. Mishnah starts. This Kmitza, we had this already before. This is only being brought for one specific reason. While he's doing the Kmitza, he's having intention to eat something that's not edible. And he's going to eat it tomorrow out of the allotted time. What's he going to eat? He's going to eat the lavaina, let's say. It's not really something that's supposed to be edible. It's supposed to be burnt, or even the kaimetz. Lahakter davar shein darka lahakter, or he's going to offer something tomorrow that's not supposed to be offered. For example, the shirayim. So it's kosher. Why? It's not considered any thought. It's batla daitai. His intention is not considered as anything. Rabbi Lezer says that it's invalid, and if you remember, Rabbi Lezer holds that the consumption of the altar is the same like the consumption of people. He uses the word achila. There's achila by both, and so he says that even if you have thoughts of eating something that's supposed to be, it's all considered one eating. We had that before in Zvachim, and I think anyway, the Gemara is going to explain it. Well, lechol davar shedarka lechol lahakta davar shedarka lahakta. Let's say the opposite. Let's say he has intention to eat exactly what he's supposed to be eating, or offering up on the altar, something that's exactly supposed to be offered up. However, it's pachis mikazayas. He has intention to do less than a kazayas. It says kosher. Lechol chatzi zayas lahakta chatzi zayas. Let's say he has intention to eat tomorrow half a zayas, and he has intention to offer up tomorrow half a zayas. So now it's a full zayas of invalidity. It says it's still kosher. It's interesting that it doesn't say that Rabbi Lezer argued for this. Okay. Amar Ravasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Ravasi says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Ravasi is a student of Rabbi Yochanan. My time with the Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason for Rabbi Eliezer that says that even if you have intention to eat something that's not supposed to be eaten, it's still going to be pigel? It says Amar Kravim Hey Achal Yei Achel. If he will eat, he will surely eat. Hey Achal Yei Achel. Yei Achel. Gemara learns that it's talking about thinking about eating, right? It's not actually eating. It's talking about thinking about eating, because we're talking. The pasuk is referring to thoughts of pigel. Besides zevach shlama, from the sacrifice. And when it says hey achol yei achel, it's a double expression. We're actually speaking about two types of consumption: consumption of a person and consumption of the altar. And it's coming to tell you Just like thoughts about a person eating will invalidate, so too you can invalidate with thoughts about the mizbeach consuming. Just like you can think about thoughts of what's a person supposed to eat in the wrong time, and that will invalidate it. So too, and from offering up something that the mizbeach is supposed to consume in the wrong time, so too, a person can think that even if he's thinking about offering up what a person's supposed to eat on the altar tomorrow, or me'achilas mizbeach adam, or what the mizbeach is supposed to consume, that a person's going to eat it tomorrow, even if he confuses who's supposed to be consuming this, it says it's still going to be pigel. My taima, what's the reason? Because when it's talking about the offering up, it uses the word achila. So therefore it's coming to tell me that all achilas are the same, and they can think from one to the other. Rabbanan, what are the Rabbanan going to say? Why does it say hey achol ye achel? It's a double expression of achila. Dafkinu hi dafkinu rachmana. Where it explains hi dafkinu rachmana b'lashon achila. This that it uses the term achila. The loishna ki mechasher b'lashon achila lemizbeach. Doesn't matter if when he thinks that he's going to offer it on the altar, he says the mizbeach is going to consume it. It doesn't matter if he says the mizbeach is going to burn it up, smoke it up. It doesn't matter what thoughts he has, which expression he uses. Inami, or also another reason why the Torah has this expression is ma'achila b'kazayas, af haktara b'kazayas, coming to tell me that the haktara has to be a kazayas, and if you have thoughts of doing the haktara in the wrong time, but less than a kazayas of it, it's not going to be a problem. Achila de orcha mashma, but achila actually means achila. In other words, I'm learning from it two other things. I'm learning that I can use achila when I'm talking about offering up. I can use that expression. And I can also, it's also teaching me that it needs to be a kazayas. But it doesn't mean that I can have thoughts of eating the levina or thoughts of burning the shirayim. I can't confuse which type of achila is talking about. That's the Rabbanan. Rabbi Eliezer, what did the Rabbi Eliezer say? They learned two things from this. It says, Im kein lichtav rachmana im hayachol heyachel inami im yeyachel. Why is it my im heyachol yeyachel? It's probably supposed to be im heyachol inami yeyachel my heyachol yeyachel shamat minei tarti. The fact that you're using different vowels is coming to teach me more than what we three things now. Coming to teach me that the haktara could be achila, the haktara could be with an expression of achila. There needs to be kazayas, and also that you can go from achila to haktara, that you can say that I'm going to eat something that's meant to be burnt. Amalei Reb Zera.
When you speak, it's tarti.
Tarti, two things. It's two things. Two things means both the kazayas and also what Rabbi Eliezer is now saying. But I'm throwing in the third thing, that you can use the expression of achila when he put both things that the Rabbanan learned from it. There's an inami in the Rabbanan. Either the Rabbanan learned a kazayas, or they learned that you can use achila, the term achila, when we're talking about the mizbeach. That's one, either option A or option B. And then we go to Rabbi Eliezer. He says Rabbi Eliezer says he's learning two things from it. So I'm taking option A and option B of the Rabbanan, and plus Rabbi Eliezer comes out at 3. Okay, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's only 2 because you can only take one or the other. Okay. Amalei Reb Zera leRabasi. Time the Rabbi Eliezer Mishamachiyo. If the reason for Rabbi Eliezer is because of this, because of the pasuk, Karas Nami Lachayev. Turns out it's a daraisa. To be chayev karas. Maybe you take a chayev karas. But atu damish made the Rabbi Yechon and made the Rabbi Eliezer ain't as karas. This is Reb Zera asking Rabasi. Reb Zera is asking Rabasi if it's taka from a pasuk, so then it should be a daraisa. and it should be kares, it should be real pigel, because we learned from the pasuk. And if you say that, okay, it is pigel, so then, but you told me in the name of Rabbi Yechanan that Rabbi Eliezer says that it's not pigel, it's only pasul. There's no kares. Amalei, so Rav Asi responds to Tanai, I'll leave it to Rabbi Eliezer. It's actually a machlekes. And the way I was explaining it was according to the one that says that it's a deraisa. But really, Rabbi Yechanan said that it's a derabanan. Ikalaman da'amar psul deraisa. Ikalaman da'amar psul derabanan. So you can't attack me on this because there's different opinions. The Tanya was starting a brayso. Sheikh it says zevach lishtis damay midamay lamachar. Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Someone slaughters a sacrifice and he has intention that tomorrow he's going to drink the blood.
Oh.
So if it would have been tomorrow, he's going to sprinkle the blood. Yeah, then that would be pigel. He has intention that he's going to drink the blood. So it's achila from something that's darkei lahakter, or I don't know, it's darkei lizrik. Or the opposite, or lahakter mi basari lamachar. He's going to take what he's supposed to be eating, the flesh, and he's going to throw it on the altar. He's going to burn it on the altar. Or lechel mei murav lamachar, or he's going to eat from the innards. He's going to eat the parts that go onto the altar, the diaphragm or whatever else goes on the altar. So it's all of that is kosher, according to the Chachamim, because he had thoughts of the wrong thing. This wasn't thoughts of something that would invalidate, because it wasn't edible thoughts of eating something that's edible or not, or burning something that's not edible. Yeah. However, Rabbi Eliezer paisel. Rabbi Eliezer says it's possible. Let's say lahaniach midam lamacher. He doesn't have thoughts of eating it. He doesn't have thoughts of sprinkling it. He has thoughts of leaving it. I'm gonna just leave it be tomorrow. Rabbi Yehuda paisel. Rabbi Yehuda says it's possible. You know, not to get confused here with Rabbi Eliezer, but comes along Rabbi Lazar, who's Rabbi Lazar ben Pedas, who's an Amayra, and he's going to comment on this. He says, "Af bezu Rabbi Eliezer paisel v'cham ashirim." When Rabbi Yehuda said pasul, Rabbi Eliezer would agree that it's pasul. I think I learned that wrong. I think maybe Rabbi Lazar is actually Rabbi Lazar ben Shemua. Rabbi Lazar ben Shemua says that Rabbi Eliezer would say it's possible. He's arguing. Who's he arguing on? Let's see. Let me look at the Quran. Clarify this. Doesn't say anything. Okay, so it must be Amar Rabbi Lazar. It must be that Rabbi Lazar is. Do you have that Rabbi Lazar is part of the brisa? Is Rabbi Lazar a comment on the brisa? But Amar Rabbi Lazar, is that in the same paragraph, or is that in the new paragraph? Yeah. So it's in the brisa. Rabbi Lazar is Rabbi Lazar ben Shemua. Rabbi Lazar ben Shemua is saying that Rabbi Eliezer would also say that it's pasul. We're talking about laniach dami lamacher. We said Rabbi Yehuda says it's pasul. Comes along Rabbi Lazar and says Rabbi Eliezer would also say it's pasul. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda ali b'deman. Who does Rabbi Yehuda hold like that? Just leaving the blood would invalidate it. Ilay ali b'derabbanan. Is he following the Rabbanan that's the Rabbanan say that you have to burn, you have an intention to burn something that's meant to be burnt, or eat something that's meant to be eaten. And here he's saying that just leaving it would make it pasul. Hashta, just 1 second. Ma hasam, if you have intention to kamachashe b'lashon achila. If you have intention to eat something that's supposed to be put on the altar, and you think about eating it, Machshiri Rabbanan, the Rabbanan say that it's kosher. Hacha, like Kolskin, for sure it should be kosher. Over here you didn't have even intention of doing something. See, when he had intention to eat something that's supposed to go on the altar, so Lamaisa, he had thoughts of achila, of eating. And I know that going on the altar is, according to one opinion, called achila. So he, in a way, even though this wasn't the opinion of the Rabbanan, but in a way that's more strict. That should have been possible, but nevertheless the Rabbanan say that that's kosher. So over here, when he doesn't even have intention of an achila at all, how could Rabbi Yehuda say that it's possible? If the Rabbanan would say it's possible when he has intention of eating it, so leaving it is for sure kosher. If you have intention of eating it, it's kosher. So leaving it is for sure kosher. So it must be. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say it's possible? El Ali b'd Rabbi Eliezer. It must be following Rabbi Eliezer's view that holds that eating something that's not meant to be eaten is possible. So he's saying this is also possible. And then comes along Rabbi Eliezer. The problem is Rabbi Eliezer hainu Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Eliezer that says Rabbi Yehuda that says that Rabbi Eliezer that says that Rabbi Eliezer would say it's possible is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that was following Rabbi Eliezer. Because the whole reason why Rabbi Yehuda said it's possible is because he was following Rabbi Eliezer. So then what's Rabbi Eliezer doing? Telling me that Rabbi Eliezer holds it. Yeah, so Rabbi Eliezer is part of the Mishnah. Elalav karsik minayu. This is what his whole point was. He told you, he was saying, Rabasi was saying that there's a machlaikas. If it's a deraisa derabanan, it must mean that there is a machlaikas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Eliezer, two students of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda ben Rabbi Eloi, and Rabbi Eliezer is Rabbi Eliezer ben Shemua. And they're arguing about what Rabbi Eliezer holds. And it's a machlaikas, karas ekabenayu, is there karas here? Rabbi Yehuda, Sava, Rabbi Yehuda holds, la niach psula ba'alma, that it's only pasul. And psula ba'alma. Bahanach, karas nami mechayev. However, when it came to when it's lahaniach, if it's leaving it, then it's only pasul midrabanan. But he holds that if it would have been to eat something that's meant to be burnt, that would be an issa daraisa. That would be a pasul midaraisa, would be karas, which means pigel. And Rabbi Eliezer says that af bezu Rabbi Eliezer paisel means that Rabbi Eliezer is always paisel. He never says that it's a daraisa, it's a darabanan. Beautiful. We have a machlekes, what Rabbi Eliezer's opinion is, if it's a daraisa darabanan. Rabbi Yehuda would hold that it's normally a daraisa, it's only lahaniach that's a darabanan, and Rabbi Eliezer says that it's always a darabanan. It says like kol yama kares leka, everyone holds that there's no kares if you're not having intention with the right intention. Really, there's three different opinions. Tanakama holds that when does Rabbi Eliezer Nacham argue? That's only if it's shalei kedarka, if it's you want to eat something that's meant to be burnt. But lahaniach, they're called kosher. Lahaniach, everyone says it's going to be kosher because the Torah only forbade and only prohibited something that has to do with consumption. Rabbi Yehuda Sava, Rabbi Yehuda holds bahanach pligi, that they are arguing Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim by lahaniach. Bahanach pligi, that's when it's the abnormal way of consumption. Yeah, eating something that's meant to be burnt, that's machlekes. La'aniach, divrei kol pasul, but to leave it, everyone says pasul. My time, why would everyone say pasul? The Rabbanan don't even say it's pasul, don't even say that it's pasul when it's consumption. It says gzeira kol damai. I'm sorry, gzeira mixas damai atu kol damai. We have a concern that when he says he's going to leave some of the blood tomorrow, a concern that maybe he thinks that that's acceptable. He's going to leave all the blood tomorrow. And kol damai psulim midaraisa. If he's going to leave all the blood, then that would be invalid because he didn't do the sprinkling. The Tanya Amalam Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says to the sages, don't you agree that if you don't sprinkle the blood, you just leave it till tomorrow, it's going to be invalid? So so leaving it is also pasul. And that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. He says that there's a gzeira. Rabbi Eliezer comes to say, that really Rabbi Eliezer would argue about this as well. Gemara asks, what we just said now is that if you leave all the blood, then it's going to be pasul. Savar Rabbi Yehuda laniach midami l'macha divrei kol pasul. If you leave, if Rabbi Yehuda says that if you're going to have thoughts of leaving some of the blood for tomorrow, it's going to be pasul. But Vatanya, but we have a brisa like this. I'm a Rebbe. You have to hear the story. This is an interesting Gemara. Naftali. It says, Kishalachti lematzais midaisai. When I came to squeeze out my vessels. Now, what that means, Rebbe's saying, Eitzel Rebbe Elazar ben Shmuel, by Rebbe Elazar ben Shmuel. Rebbe's saying that I wanted to check if all my learning was correct. So I was going to squeeze out my vessels in front of Rebbe Elazar ben Shmuel. He was going to tell me if I did everything correct. V'amrila, there are those that say, Lamatzis midaisav shel Rebbe Elazar Shmuel. I wanted to squeeze out Rebbe Elazar ben Shmuel. I wanted to learn as much as I could from him. So Matzasias Yosef HaBavli Yeshilufana. I see Yosef HaBavli. I think he had some other names in the Gemara. Yosef HaBavli is called someone else, whatever. Anyway, he's sitting in front of, you see where we are? We're on 18a. Yeah? He's sitting in front of Rabbi Elazar ben Shmuel, Yosef HaBavli, Vayechavev Lai, Yosef. Rabbi Elazar ben Shmuel, it was really endeared, this Yosef HaBavli. La'achas, up to one. Endeared him up to one. So there's different interpretations over here, but for this crowd, I have to tell you what Taisva says. That Taisva says, Yesh Mefarshim Chaim, you hear this? Yesh Mefarshim, ad achas means until the nefesh, and ekras yechida. Now, I find this so interesting because the Zohar doesn't even mention the yechida. The Zohar calls it neshama de neshama or something. Comes along Taisvis in Menachos and talks about the yechida. Isn't that interesting? He says ad la'achas.
But it's mentioned in the other major books of Kabbalah, isn't it?
Later works.
Later books?
Yeah.
Oh,
not
I
this
didn't
early.
know that. How did both of you know that?
Huh.
I think. So, yeah. It says Nefesh Ruach Neshama, and then I think it combines the two together, and then there's Neshama de Neshama. It mixes Chaya Yechida together, and in Chassidus it's divided up into Chaya and Yechida, I think. Okay, but the other interpretations is they were learning until they reached one halacha. The specific halacha, achas means just one halacha, or achas could mean achas in Aramaic is chada, one, but the word for ma'oid is lachada, and so the word one in very much is one word in Aramaic. So I guess in translation it turns out to the yoiser ad la'achas. Yeah, I don't know the modern Hebrew, but I know a friend of mine, his father wrote a story for the Kfar Chabad magazine. And the story was about the general that was telling the soldiers that they should clean the room, should be eser. Eser is a slang, a Hebrew slang that means perfect. Eser means 10. It should be a 10. But it's a slang, it means perfect. Anyway, in the translation, they wrote it should be 10. Anyway, that's okay. So Amar Lai, what happened over here?
We use that in English too.
Should be 10.
A perfect 10.
Oh, easy there.
Yeah, but Rennie's saying that from a movie he saw that he shouldn't have been looking at.
Still an expression.
Finished here.
And Naftali, how would you know?
Oh, boy, both of you.
Because I shouldn't have been looking at it either.
Get thee to another, both of you.
Get thee to another. Thank you, Shakespeare.
Everything's in the Torah.
And kindergarten.
The Amalai, so Rabbi Yosef HaBavli tells Rabbi Elazar ben Shmuel, says, Rabbi, ask him this question. It says, exactly the discussion that we have by us. Someone slaughters a sacrifice and he has intention to leave the blood tomorrow. It's like a quasi pigel. It's not to sprinkle. Ma, what's going to be the din? This is the question that Yosef HaBavli is asking Rabbi Elazar. Amalai, he says kosher. He says it's kosher. Arvis, Amalai kosher. That night he asked him again, what's going to be? What's the halacha? He says it's kosher. Shachris, he asked him again. Amalai kosher. Tzarayim in the afternoon. Amalai kosher. He asked him again in the afternoon. He says kosher. Mincha. I guess that means later afternoon. Amalai kosher. Elish Rebbe Elazar Paisel. He adds in one more detail. It says Rebbe Elazar Paisel. So Tzav Upanav Shal Yosef HaBavli is thrilled His face is beaming with joy. Amalai, Sir Rebbe Lazar says, Yosef, Medumani, apparently, that I didn't tell you the correct thing until now. You didn't. You were looking for something. Amalai, so Yosef Abavli says, Rebbe, he says, hey, it's true. What you told me is correct. What you told me is the halacha. Ella Rabbi Yehuda Paisel Shanali. But I heard you, Rabbi Yehuda Pasel Shana. Rabbi Yehuda Pasel Shanali. You told me that Rabbi Yehuda says Pasel. B'chazarti al kol talmidav. No, I'm sorry. Rabbi Yehuda Pasel Shanali. Rabbi Yehuda told me that it's Pasel. Rabbi Yehuda told me that it's Pasel. And I went to all of Rabbi Yehuda's students, called the Vikashti Lechaver, and I wanted to find anyone else that heard from Rabbi Yehuda that it's Pasel. I couldn't find anyone. Now that you told me that Rabbi Eliezer says that it's possible, so you've returned to me my lost object. Now I have this halacha back. Zolgain of Demais shel Rabbi Lazar ben Shmuel. Rabbi Lazar ben Shmuel is pouring tears. We saw how happy the Yosef Abavli was. Amar says, "Ashreichem Talmidei Chacham shedibri Torah chavim malem b'Yosef." Lucky are the Talmidei Chachamim that the words of Torah are so precious to them. The Kara Allah Hamikra, and he recited this pasuk regarding Yosef Abavli. He says, "Ma hafti Torah kol hayom yisichasi." How much do I love your Torah? The entire day, it's my talk. Now the Gemara adds, it says, this that Rabbi Yehuda said that it's possible. Rabbi Yehuda benoi. This is Rabbi Lazar telling. Why did Rabbi Yehuda say it's possible? Because Rabbi Yehuda is the son of Bnei Rabbi Lai. Rabbi Lai. And Rabbi Lai Talmid is Rabbi Lezer. And Rabbi Lai is a Talmud of Rabbi Lezer. Lefikach Shanalach Mishnas Rabbi Lezer. And that's why he told you the teaching of Rabbi Lezer. Gemara says, V'isal Kadaitach. Let's go back to what we were talking about. Dibriya Kol Pasal Isnaya. That everyone says that it's possible. If Rabbi Yehuda according to the way we're saying it now, is that who is Rabbi Yehuda's saying? We had an option before of saying Rabbi Yehuda was saying it's possible according to the Rabbanan. We rejected that. We said Rabbi Yehuda saying it's possible according to Rabbi Eliezer. We rejected that. We said Rabbi Yehuda says it's possible according to everyone. Now, if Rabbi Yehuda says it's possible, so Mayach Zartli Avidasi. So what does it mean that Rabbi Lazar tells Yosef Abavli that Rabbi Lazar says it's possible? Iu Plukta Kama. Rabbi Yehuda didn't tell him that it was a machlaikas. Rabbi Yehuda told him that everyone says it's possible, and comes along Rabbi Lazar and tells him that it's a machlaikas. So he didn't give him what Rabbi Yehuda taught him. Elamai, it must be that Rabbi Eliezer, Paisel Esnaya. I'm sorry, Elamai, kosher. Rabbi Eliezer, Paisel Asnei. It must be that Rabbi Yehuda told him that really it's a machlaikas. Rabbi Yehuda must have told him it's a machlaikas. That's why he's so happy when Rabbi Lazar tells him it's a machlaikas. Yachi mai hamipnei. So if that's the case, so what does it mean that? Why did Rabbi Lazar then tell him? Why did Rabbi Yehuda teach you this? Because he's following the opinion of. Because he's following the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, who's his father's teacher. Listen. Ananami plukta kamasnina. Rabbi Lazar also told him that it's a machlaikas. If you tell me it's a machlaikas, and then Rabbi Lazar has to explain why Rabbi Yehuda taught him that when Rabbi Lazar's explaining to him why Rabbi Yehuda told him pasal, he's explaining to him why Rabbi Yehuda didn't tell him it's a machlaikas. Because Rabbi Yehuda would be following his father's teacher. But now that we're saying that he's telling him that it's a machlaikas, and Rabbi Yehuda said it's a machlaikas, so why does he need to explain to him why it's a machlaikas? Really, Rabbi Yehuda told Yosef Abavli that it's pasal. What does it mean you return to me the lost object? I didn't know that anyone said that it's pasal. I know now you're telling me it's a machlaikas, but a machlaikas is good enough. At least I have one opinion. I know Rabbi Yehuda told me that everyone says it, but at least I have a source that the one opinion that says it's pasal. Okay, let's leave it at the Mishnah. Wow, it's late.
Okay.
Okay, we're only 3.5 pages behind.
Have a good week.
Had to be like.